time to learn stuff while punching crime in the face. This is Arkham Wednesdays. Today's topic is Owlman, which was requested by a fan, I forget. Now, there's been various Owlmen over the years, but for this video, we'll be focusing on the Crime Syndicate version of the character, so Earth 3. But I'll be covering both pre-52 and Forever Evil, as well as some other media Owlmen. Also, I am well aware of another Owlman that appeared as part of the Court of Owls series, but since the court may appear in Arkham Knight, I'll be saving Mr. Lincoln March for a later Arkham Wednesdays, okay? Alrighty then, so Owlman was created to be Batman's evil counterpart in the DC multiverse, August of 1964. He was created by Mike some weird name, and Gardner Fox. Unlike Batman, Owlman at times has been shown with metahuman abilities, like an enhanced super strength and a chemically altered super cortex, so a brain powered by some type of chemicals. Because he's evil, Owlman wears a power suit to double his super strength, which was kind of shown in the Crisis of Two Earths DC animated film where he had like this super powered exosuit. Now, similar to the Batman, Owlman does carry a utility belt and is a master of the martial arts. And yes, while Batman does not kill, Owlman uses lethal force. A lot. Sometimes carries guns too. Now, the very first time we met Owlman and his team was in Justice League issue number 29. Way back in the day, issue 29, folks, when it was called the Justice League of America. Basically, they were bored from having no challenge on their Earth, and the Crime Syndicate discovered a way to travel to Earth 1 and then Earth 2. Where they fought both the Justice Society on Earth 2 and Earth 1's Justice League. After defeating the League, they decided to be like all villain-like and monologue and describe about the world from whence they came. Everything that happened in our history basically happened in reverse for theirs. So Columbus discovered Europe, the British colonists declared independence from America, and President John Wilkes Booth was shot by Abraham Lincoln. Freaky, right? Superheroes also didn't exist on their worlds, just supervillains after World War II. Later on, Earth 3 does get some heroes, namely the opposite of Lex and the Joker and some others, who would basically wage a never-ending war on the Crime Syndicate and lose. After the villains finished monologuing, because that's what villains love to do, the Justice League got their second wind and beat the Crime Syndicate to a pulp, unaware that, of course, their evil devils had a magic word to send them back to their Earth. Not long after this encounter, they enslave the Justice Society of America and issue a challenge to the Justice League of America. Then the battle for Earth 2 begins. This time, the League tricks their evil twins into becoming too powerful for their own good, and then they can't even function at all. Like Ultraman gets even more powers, and Wonder Woman tricks Superwoman into using her magic lasso, which, confines her powers. It's just weird, okay? Then Hal Jordan basically imprisons them in an energy bubble and casts them into a parallel limbo dimension between Earths. So, kind of like purgatory. But this is not the last that we see of Ultraman, Superwoman, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, and Owlman. They kind of appear randomly to annoy people in the 70s and 80s, until the team is finally destroyed in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Earth 3 is obliterated by an antimatter wave. Years later, another version of the Crime Syndicate would appear in the 90s, but they didn't last long and I don't care for them. Zero Year was kind of a soft reboot for the DC Universe in the mid-90s. What's very interesting about Zero Year is most of the pivotal stories that happened to the Justice League, the Batman stories like Killing Joke, Year One, Nightfall, and of course the death of Superman, Reign of the Superman, etc., etc. It all happened in 0 year, unlike the New 52 years later. Thanks, Dido. Now, in 2000, Grant Morrison brought back the Earth 3 Crime Syndicate in a graphic novel called Earth 2, which was fantastic, and later adapted into a DC animated film, although tweaked by Dwayne McDuffie, which made it even better. And Owlman, like kind of this crazy, sadistic, murdering psychopath. Just to not essentially break character, but break thought for a second, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Dwayne McDuffie was actually a personal hero of mine. He was the guy responsible for sending a shock through my system with Static Shock, which was an amazing character. I loved what he did in writing a lot of great episodes for Justice League Unlimited and some of the later DC animated films, like the early ones. And also, he was the guy responsible for bringing Ben 10 to life. So, amazing man. He will be greatly missed. On to pre-crisis Owlman and his team of criminals on a reverse world. So Earth 2's crime syndicate in Grant Morrison's novel, they basically conquered their world and ruled with an iron fist. More so than Tim's universe, the Justice Lords. You did not want to mess with these rulers of Earth 2, I'll tell you that. You didn't have to worry about just being lobotomized. You'd be dead. So it's kind of like a reverse of the Silver Age counterparts. This crime syndicate also had a reverse history, but it was much, much darker and bleaker than anything ever before. Which Morrison likes to do that type of stuff. So the story more or less went like this. Alexander Luthor finds a way to reach our Earth and kidnaps his opposite Lex and sends him to his world in his place, where actually a opposite of you has to exist at all times, or after 24 hours you're sent back to your respective worlds or something. It's weird, okay? It's like freaky travel. So Alexander Luthor then contacts the Justice League, tells them a sob story about how evil, took over his world, and he's here to get our help, or the help of Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, and Kyle Rayner, who all say, okay, but Aquaman and Martian Manhunter say, we're gonna stay behind, just in case the rest of those whack jobs try to invade our Earth. So then our heroes, do a military action and invade someone else's world, and then they trap the bad guys on the moon using Kyle Rayner's, power ring or something. I still forget how they do it, but the guys on the moon base, Justice League comes in, traps them on the moon. That's all you need to know. In case you guys are curious too, the Mirror Universe's characters' origins go like this, and it's the complete opposite of what you know about DC. So Ultraman was actually an astronaut who got injured in space and aliens messed with his DNA. Jim Gordon is the head of the mob in Gotham, and Thomas Wayne Sr. is the police commissioner. I know, right? So Thomas Wayne Jr., who's Owlman, he's basically like the sole survivor of a shooting when he was young. His brother and mother were killed, and he wants revenge. Lois Lane is Wonder Woman, though they don't really say much about her. Johnny Quick got his super speed from drugs, though his mind is kind of woo. And lastly, Power Ring is constantly in pain due to a curse that is his ring. Also, he's a coward, so he would shoot chickens like Guy Gardner in Lego Batman 3. Now, even though the League frees their world, this Earth is seriously messed up. So them trying to save the world in reality hurts it, because it messes the natural order of things, which is chaos. So, example, when Owlman's defeated, Batman visits his dad, who's a police commissioner, and the guy tells Bruce, I'm so proud of you for beating Owlman, you're kind of like evil twin brother. Now I'll create a police state and rule Gotham through sheer force of fear and will. And Batman's kind of like, maybe we shouldn't have interfered on this world. Meanwhile, back on the moon, Owlman tells the others, since our opposites are here, we can conquer their Earth by just switching place with them in 24 hours, which is 1 minute from now. And then poof, they're on our Earth and invading Washington, D.C. and greeted by Aquaman and Martian Manhunter, who kicked their butts, by the way. Aquaman was really amazing in this battle and doing so many cool things. And if you weren't a fan of Aquaman, you are now, because he just beat the crime syndicate with a little assistance from Martian Manhunter. Some crazy stuff happens in the anti-matter universe, so Crime Syndicate, and the positive matter universe, Justice League universe, where basically Brainiac, who's now organic, is causing the two worlds to merge into one and be destroyed because their natural orders are opposite and they're just gonna tear each other apart. So due to upsetting the natural balance of things, Superman and Wonder Woman can't kill Brainiac, who's basically a human, and they somehow get Earth 2 to go back. Actually, Wally transports both teams to the respective worlds, and Ultraman lobotomizes Brainiac, preventing the destruction of both realities, and doing what Superman couldn't, kill. So, yeah, I hope everybody understands, it's just a crazy story. But enough on the Crime Syndicate, let's talk about Owlman's personality. While he may appear as a very, very bad guy, he's not so much a bad guy, per se. Example, even though Thomas hates his dad, in our universe, at the Wayne family grave in Gotham, Owlman drops to his knees and weeps at his opposite's grave, stating nothing really matters. So it's revealed in later stories that Thomas Wayne Jr. loved his mother and brother very much, and a corrupt police officer killed his family. His dad somehow survived and then became a corrupt police officer himself, and Thomas dedicated his life to crime, fighting against the corrupt justice system. But he has a type of system in place that's a little bit different than Ultraman's, but it's still kind of like, woohoo. A similar trait that he and Batman share is being the brains behind both their teams. He can easily manipulate the Syndicate into doing whatever he wants. He and Superwoman also have a relationship, though it's bad because Lois is married to Ultraman. And even though she is in love with Thomas Jr., it's still bad that she is with a guy when she's married. Some of his history actually gets altered after the events of the Justice League and Avengers crossover in 2004. Yes, it happened. It's weird. Not gonna cover it because it's just too complex. It has to do with like two beings and Metreon and all this weird stuff that I just don't get. All you need to know, after the Justice League and the Avengers did something happened to the antimatter or quad universe or whatever, and it caused some serious changes to the Syndicate and their world and universe. Like Power Rings suddenly became like a Jon Stewart clone when he used to be a white guy, so that sent kind of like a panic, like what's going on? The Flash changed, Atom changed, everybody's opposite changed except for the three, Owlman, Ultraman, and Superwoman. So yeah, in response to all the weird changes, they invade our Earth and 52 other realities and start kidnapping people during the Trinity series, which was like a weekly DC series starring Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. I believe back in like 2006, 2007. During this time, Owlman grows to despise all realities, but DC doesn't really do anything with this mindset until the 2010 Justice League Crisis film. Before I get into Forever Evil, I really want to talk about Crisis on Two Earths, with Owlman voiced by James Wood. This Owlman is scary and plans on destroying all realities, which in turn would wipe out every Earth in existence. To do this, he needs to blow up Earth Prime. Now, he is the main antagonist of the film, and he is sinister. Even his own team despises this guy, but they're afraid of him because he could kill them at any moment. Even Ultraman is kind of just like one of his pawns. Though he has no superpowers in the movie. He's not a metahuman. He's just wicked smart, wears a superpowered exosuit, and his girlfriend, Superwoman, does most of the dirty work. But he's got every League member, or Syndicate member, under his finger. Like Batman, he uses a utility belt, but relies more on his brutal combat abilities, and when he fights, man, this guy is messed up. Now, the reason why Owlman goes loopy is he accidentally discovers the multiverse's existence, and he comes to the conclusion that nothing he does matters anymore, because no matter what action a person takes, an alternate version of them will choose to do something else. So using the crime syndicate under the guise of taking over the Justice League's Earth, he begins building this bomb that will blow up Earth Prime and begins searching for it, so he can wipe out all existence, because humanity to him is a cancer and must be removed. Even if it means, he dies along with it, he doesn't really care. And he doesn't really tell his teammates this either. He's just like, yep, go invade that Earth, everything will be fine. Then we'll be richer, haha! Oh, secretly I'm gonna kill you all. So Owlman almost succeeds in destroying everything, but Batman follows him thanks to the sacrifice of Johnny Quick. They fight and Owlman tells Batman, there are other versions of me that you'd find quite charming. But due to his exosuit, Owlman beats Batman to a bloody pulp pretty well. But of course, Batman's used to fighting gods like Darkseid and other aliens, so Batman's able to use all his experience, even though he's outgunned, to best Owlman, and it's a pretty sweet fight, seeing Batman outsmart probably like the smartest dude ever. He then sends the bomb with Owlman to an empty, frozen Earth where it explodes. Before he dies, though, Owlman says, it doesn't really matter, and then boom! Basically what the Sinister Fiend was saying was, even though he could save himself because he has time, he's running to stop the bomb, he just stops and he's like, you know what, another version of myself would choose the opposite, so it doesn't matter. Boom. Another version of Owlman kind of appears in Brave and the Bold, but he's very different than, of course, the guy we just talked about. He shares similar traits to Thomas Wayne Jr., and then he doesn't. He's not really a sinister or calculating strategist genius. Instead, he's a cocky, Brave and the Bold evil twin, which makes me hate him more. Owlman arrives on Batman's Earth, loses, and Brave Bats goes to his Earth and helps the Red Hood, who's Joker's opposite, and a hero. Confused yet? Yeah. So back on Brave Earth, because I refuse to call it Earth 1 or Earth Prime or whatever, it's Batman Brave the Bold, so Brave Earth, okay? Deal with it. Owlman escapes, disguises himself as the first appearance Batman, and frames Bruce for all kinds of crazy crap. Brave Batman returns to his reality, and his friends are against him because they think Batman is finally, gone batty, and they're trying to take him down. Meanwhile, he has to team up with the real Joker, and the Joker's kind of like, so the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Whatever, I'm crazy, let's do this. And they work together to stop their friends, And then Joker, of course, betrays Brave Bats. And in order to save his friends, you know, the Justice International or whatever, Batman travels throughout the multiverse, bringing back different Batmen to help him. It's a very silly two-part episode, but then again, it's based on the Silver Age. What more do you want? Now then, Owlman's recent appearance in the New 52 on Earth 3 during Forever Evil. Like the previous version, this Owlman is a Wayne and was the older brother of Bruce Wayne, though he's actually the one responsible for causing his family to die. He is the one who guns them down in Crime Alley. Actually, the butler did it. Yep, Alfred killed the Waynes. So how the crime syndicate arrives on Earth, they do it at the end of the Trinity War between the three different Justice Leagues. Justice League of America, Justice League, and Justice League Dark. And then they easily mop the floor with the weak 52 Justice Leagues. Then, of course, Owlman goes and takes down Nightwing because he's got his own agenda, and they unmask him in front of the world, and I hated that part so much. This Owlman, unlike wanting to conquer Earth, he just came to this reality to get Dick Grayson, since his son was killed by that world's Joker. And it kind of drove Thomas Wayne Owlman a little crazier. After the League is imprisoned inside the Firestorm Matrix, Owlman takes over both Gotham and Chicago's underworld. And he's a lot more ruthless than the Batman. One thing that he loves to do is tear families apart. In one scene I remember of Forever Evil, he captures two brothers after laying waste to their entire family. So they're the two sole survivors of a powerful mafia family. Neither Gotham or Chicago, I forget. He then tells them, only one of you can survive. I'm gonna kill one of you, and then the other one is gonna become the head of this criminal empire, and you're gonna give me half of whatever you make. Okay, you have to tell me which one of you is gonna live. And when the guy says, you know, you should kill my brother because I'm the better one, the guy who said, kill my brother, that's the one Owlman kills, because he has a twisted sense of morality, and the other guy has to watch his brother die, and it's weird. So, in the Crisis, like, Forever Evil thing, he's constantly speaking with Nightwing about helping him take down the Syndicate, because he knows they're all crazy and he's just using them anyway to get Nightwing back. Dick eventually agrees, although nothing really happens between that. He also doesn't know that Batman survived and is joined up with Lex Luthor and created like an injustice gang or whatever. Owlman is actually devastated to hear that Ultraman has put Richard into the murder machine, and so he goes to help him, and he's kind of like, you know, screw you guys, I'm gonna go help Nightwing. When he arrives back in their base, he finds that Alfred is dead and Nightwing is missing. He then discovers Johnny Quick's corpse and some others, and then he disappears. Like, he doesn't get caught like the people who survive. To date, no one in the New 52 universe knows where Owlman is. He doesn't go looking for Nightwing either because he becomes a spy. So Dick Grayson just kind of vanishes from the Earth, and I guess Owlman is kind of like, well, I guess he's dead. So basically what the guy does, as far as we know, he hangs out as a crime lord somewhere, like a secret crime lord, just collecting stuff, and everybody else is too busy to deal with them because Convergence is coming up. Whether or not he'll appear, we don't know. And that's it, that's all, ladies and gentlemen. For more on Owlman, I suggest reading the following: Justice League of America Earth 2, the book by Grant Morrison, which I talked about. The Forever Evil arc for the New 52 is decent, if you like the bad guys. And of course, I highly recommend you watch Crisis on Two Earths. Even though it's not the DC animated universe, it is still a really great movie. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're done. Thanks so much for watching another Arkham Wednesdays. Not hashtag Arkham Wednesdays, it's just hashtag so it's easier to find on Twitter. Until we meet again though, God bless and happy gaming. I'll see you on the next Arkham Wednesdays. Bye-bye.